Ken Dorsey was first hired, I know there was like mixed reaction to it. Blake's initial reaction was, this sucks. And then after, I saw a lot of people online, the same thing. And then other people were saying, this is a great hire. After looking into it, you come to realize that he has had some very, very profound success with quarterbacks similar to Deshaun Watson and Cam Newton, Josh Allen. And I think Deshaun Watson is... I think Josh Allen is a great passer. He has a very strong arm, but I think overall, all the mechanics, all the tools, I think Deshaun Watson's probably the best passer of that group. Yeah. And I'll kind of get into that because Lance Riesland, who I just read, this is what we're talking about here, this article on Cleveland.com, and he also said that, let me see, his main concerns with Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator are, one, scheme alignment with Kevin Stefanski, and turnovers. He says that Ken Dorsey runs offense with a similar mindset as Stefanski, which we just read his quote on that. That's one reason why he thinks Kevin will give Dorsey the play calling, but it could also be a negative because it doesn't bring the innovation that we were all hoping for the offense. But I think we're forgetting about Tommy Reese, and I think Tommy Reese is the guy bringing in some of those college concepts into this pro game, the offense for the Cleveland Browns. So I think they're doing a really good thing here. They're bringing in smart people into the room, a collective unit. Stefanski, we hired him as the offensive leader. That was his acumen from Minnesota. That's his specialty. So he's still the leader of that offensive unit. You bring in a guy like Ken Dorsey who can also do the same things Kevin can do. He can really help Deshaun Watson elevate his game. And then you get the college perspective, the innovation from a guy like Tommy Reese, and you bring them all into one. We didn't need to go out and get an offensive coordinator to do all those things. We get people that are very good in their lane and just bring them all into the same room. And I think it was a really smart move by the Browns.
Yeah, and whether it ends up being a collaboration to start and then going to Ken Dorsey, we can't forget about Staley as well. He's seen and called, had his input in a lot of games also. What they're going to do in Bill Callahan's stead, I'm not 100% sure, but maybe that's why they interviewed the guy from Seattle. He's got a lot of O-line experience, so we'll see what happens with that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what I see by hiring him is you got a guy that has success with the quarterbacks that you mentioned. And on the outside, you're like, yeah, they run, they can pass, they got big arms. But Deshaun Watson probably is the most accurate of them. And that was probably the most appealing thing for Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, I would think so. I'm going to play a clip real quick from that conference. This is what Ken Dorsey had to say about Deshaun Watson.
I'm extremely excited to work with this offense, especially, Deshaun and him being one of the top quarterbacks in this league. The opportunity to really go out there this season and help him prove that, he really is that, a top quarterback in this league that can operate and help us win a bunch of football games.
So the investment the Browns made in Deshaun Watson obviously was a very big one. So it makes sense that they would want to bring in a guy who they believe can just make sure we get the absolute most out of our quarterback. Another thing Lance said here on the kind of negative side of this, he said that if Josh Allen was kind of a turnover machine in Buffalo, let's just call it what it is. And he said if his turnovers were a result of fundamentals, preparedness, and or not understanding the plays, then that all goes back to a coaching issue. Now, if those were a lot of mistakes on Josh Allen's part, just him trying to play hero ball or pressing a little bit just because that's his nature as an athlete, that's one thing. But if those other things were an issue, that could be, on Ken Dorsey. But I don't necessarily have that fear. What gives me a lot of confidence in having Deshaun Watson paired with Ken Dorsey is that Deshaun Watson has never been a big turnover or mistake-prone type of player. I don't know how many people realize this, but Deshaun Watson has only thrown more than 9 interceptions in a full season one time in his career. In 2019, he threw 12. Other than that, in his full seasons, he's thrown 9, 7, and in his rookie season that was cut short, he only threw 8 as a rookie. Josh Allen, on the other hand, only has one season with fewer than 10 interceptions. He threw 9 in 2019, but all his other years in the NFL, Josh Allen has 12, 19, 15, 14, and just now in 2023, 18 interceptions.
Yeah, look at Joe Flacco. What did he have? 10, and like 4 of them went for touchdowns. That's not a good turnover rate, right? You can't be putting points on the board. He did address the TOs, like you said, or the turnovers, like you said. So we don't have a QB coach, so it looks like he is going to fill a lot of that and help develop Deshaun Watson. Dorsey, I think he won this. He must have a fantastic plan for Deshaun Watson. Like, this is a Deshaun Watson hire. They want to make him, and it could be Deshaun Watson just saying to the coach and the staff, hey, you know what? I'm not there right now. I need something more. I need something more than what happened last year. And this could be the reason for this hire.
Yeah, and it sounds like the Browns were very, very intricate in their interview process, very specific about what they wanted. And because Ken Dorsey was quoted as saying it was darn near like a root canal to get this job.
Yeah. He specifically outlined certain things. So he outlined the RPOs. He outlined the zone read. He said that he has a natural feel to the game, great instincts, and adjusts well, is what he specifically said in this. So that's great. So if we can take that to another level, because I feel both the Browns and Deshaun Watson, they want to go to the next level. And this guy outlined that plan to get this job.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what we need. At the end of the day, yes, do I want an innovative offense with explosion and, motions and all these cool new things that the NFL is doing? Yes. But what it really boils down to is Deshaun Watson. This team will go as Deshaun goes. We're not going to have a season like this every year. You cannot lose your starting quarterback and still find your way to 11-6 and the number 5 seed in the AFC. It's just, this was a great season, a magical season, one we'll always remember, but you cannot bank on this happening all the time. You need your starting quarterback. You need your franchise guy to be at a high level. And yeah, like we've been saying here, that's what this move is all about.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.